much for clicking on my video. Today we're going to cover how to get a flawless foundation with Savvy Minerals by Young Living. So today this video is solely about foundation because you see I don't have no eyebrows on and no eyelashes and no lips and no color. So I may just be like blending into my background. But this video is completely 100% devoted to the foundation and all the tips and tricks that I know to help you guys out. So if you want to see how to get full coverage foundation, please keep watching. So first things first, you want to wash and prep your face. So today I've already done all my washing, toning, oiling, and moisturizing. So I've let that sit for a little bit so it's all nice and fresh skin. And so now I'm going to prime. And so what I'm gonna prime my face with for makeup application is their Renewal Serum. There are two other choices to prime with. They actually came out with the mattifying primer and the hydrating primer. This is the box it comes in. This last summer at convention. So these are great products. I just find that I was using the Renewal Serum long before the primers were available, and I just love it so much that it's what I reach for the most, even though I do also like the mattifying primer. My skin is combination to oily, so I rarely have to pull out the hydrating one, but I do have it on hand for when I need it. So all of those are great priming options. So today I'm going to use the Renewal Serum, and it takes one pump, and that's honestly more than enough for my face. So I go ahead, I get my eyelids, I make sure to get under the eye because we're going to cover some dark circles. Down my neck, and I still have some left over to put on the back of my hands. So priming is important. This is what helps your foundation to stay on longer, so don't neglect priming. So while this is still kind of tacky, we're going to utilize that tacky layer, and so I'm going to go ahead and start with the Diamond Dust. I'm tapping a few of the minerals into the cap. My lights are so bright, I don't know if you'll be able to see this. I'll shadow it a little bit. Okay, so not very much. And then I am taking just a beauty wedge, and I am going to put this under my eyeballs. I'm going further down than where my actual dark circles are, and I'm going further out. So reason being is you can cover up the color of dark circles. Like if I just did that, I could get rid of the color, which I didn't get as much on that eye. But if I just put it exactly where my dark circles are, I'll just show you guys. Once I get, sorry, I'm still in the habit of doing the triangle. If I cover the color, but I keep that same shape, I'm still accentuating the dark circle shape. This takes your eye away from that dark circle. It's an optical illusion. All makeup is an optical illusion. So by doing this number, you can more effectively cover up your dark circles to illuminate your eyes. So I'm getting a little more because I've rubbed a lot of that off. So, but even then, I didn't tap that much more. It doesn't take that much. So I'm focusing more of the product here, but I'm bringing it down and then back up. So by doing this, because I have hooded eyes, I have trouble with making my eyes look awake. So when I do this, it draws my eyes up. So that is just one of my tricks, and also helps to cover up those more effectively. So I'm going to set that aside. We'll come back to it later. Okay, so once we've got our eyes, I am going to go in with my foundation, which I am just going in and doing what I call baking the trouble areas. So currently having some breakouts, having some redness, I could go in and just put on my foundation with the misting spray, which I'll teach you in a minute, and I wouldn't have to do this underlying steps. See, even my neck is red. I must have got into something. That was a spot, but the rest of my neck is red. I wonder what I was around today. Side note, sorry. Back on track. So I could just go in with the misted foundation, which I will show you in a minute, without doing all this baking. But for me and my skin and my pores and my breakouts, this gives me an extra layer of coverage, and my nose is so bad. No matter what foundation I use, so bad to just rub right off. So this gives it a little extra insurance, and when I wear glasses, I make sure to put a little bit more there so it doesn't rub off. And so especially in my T-zone where it's more oily, this helps me to make it longer in the day without having to touch it up without that oil breaking through. So you're gonna look, oh, there's a spot right there I missed. It's harder to do your makeup in a camera than I would have imagined. Okay, so once you look all splotchy and cute, we're gonna let this sit 5 to 10 minutes. So while it's sitting, I'm gonna tell you why I mix my warm, cool, and diamond dust for my foundation. So for those of you that don't know, when you go to pick a foundation, you determine whether you are a cool or a warm. So if you look at your wrist and you see mostly blue veins, you are a cool, undertoned person. If you look at your wrist and you see mostly green veins, you are a warm tone person. That being said, once you determine whether you are cool or warm, then you go in and you pick whether you are a cool 1, 2, or 3 or a warm 1, 2, or 3. So I'm obviously the palest shade in any foundation color. So that was a no-brainer for me to get the lightest shade. But when I first ordered it, I had not seen any of the makeup. My mom literally, because I wasn't at convention when they released the makeup, sadly. But my mom called me and she said, Chelsea, they created makeup. And I was pumped, but also slightly skeptical, you know, because I got to see it to believe it. That's just who I am. Anyway, so I literally got on my phone, looked up the foundations. At that time, I don't even think there was pictures. There may have been. I may be lying. But anyway, I hadn't seen them in person, and photos on the internet lie. Like, they do not look the same as what comes in the deal. I mean, they're close. Young Livings are really close. But I've seen some, I mean, they're as close as they can be, but it's still a photo. And everyone's eye interprets shades differently. So because I'm so pale, I picked Cool 1 because I thought, I'm mostly cool, but I do have some green in there. So we'll just start with Cool 1. So I ordered that and the misting spray. I put it on, it matched my skin perfectly, except the undertones of it were slightly pink-ish once I had my face on. So I was like, okay, how do I fix this? So the next month on my ER, I ordered Warm 1, and I thought, we'll see if this one works better. So I put a full face of Warm 1 on, and it, like before, it matched my skin so well, but the undertones were just slightly yellow. So I thought, okay, well, both have good qualities and bad qualities, so I'm gonna use my color wheel knowledge, and I'm gonna put the two together. So what happened when I mixed the two together is I made my custom neutral foundation color. So for me, when I go to mix this, I wear slightly more warm than I do cool, because I do have those breakouts and redness. So the warm helps cancel out the redness that the Cool 1 enhanced, and the cool foundation helps neutralize the yellowness that the warm caused. So hopefully that makes sense. And then the reason I add the diamond dust is because, hello bling, I like to sparkle. Also, the reason I do that is because in the wintertime, believe it or not, I get paler. So if I'm already wearing the lightest foundation color, how can I make it lighter? Diamond dust. So hope that helps you guys in your shade navigating and helping others find their foundation shade if you've already found yours. That has been wonderful for me. This is what it looks like after I've mixed the warm and the cool and the diamond dust in it, and honestly, I don't really have a formula. I just eyeball it every time. So if you ask me for a formula, I don't have it. Okay, moving on. This is set long enough. I almost forgot. When I do this baking stuff, I usually take whatever's left over on my sponge from the diamond dust and brush it on my eyelids and my eyelashes. And I've got a little bit left in the cap, so I'm not gonna let it go to waste because the diamond dust acts as a primer for your eyelashes and helps your mascara to look fuller and bolder. So I forgot I did that in that mix too. Also, something I do is I take my foundation sponge again, and the reason I do this is because I'm so pale. I'm so pale. Hang on, let me get it to. Okay, well, what I was trying to show you is I have a lot of veins that show through my eyelids, and so if I don't cover those up before I put eyeshadow on, they show through, and I don't like that. So I do go ahead and take some foundation and let that bake so it can finish its baking while we do the rest. Moving on, once it's baked its time, we're gonna go into the misted application of foundation. So I'm gonna put a couple minerals, as if I can count them. We're gonna put some minerals in our cap, and I'll show you how much I use at once. If I can shade it. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see this. If not, I'll put a picture in here. So that's very, very little amount. You don't need much. And I do my foundation in sections, so I'll show you what that means. And today I'm using the Savvy Minerals foundation brush, and every day I use this because why would I use any other brush? These are amazing. If you haven't tried them, find someone who has a brush set or buy you them because they're awesome. So I'm gonna go ahead and spray my brush, my foundation brush, with the Savvy Minerals misting spray. So if you haven't seen that, that's what it looked like. And it has a little boo-boo because I think I dropped it, but shh, it's okay. So I'm gonna mist my brush. The first time on the first layer, I spray my brush probably 3 times, sometimes 4. And then I kind of feel it to see if it's where it needs to be, where my preferred dampness is. Is that a way of saying that? Does that make sense? And then I'm just gonna pick up my minerals in the cap. I'm just gonna hope you guys can read my mind. Growing up, my mom said, she spoke in riddles, and she said, you're just gonna have to read my mind. So I really hope you guys can do that. Okay, so once I've picked up my minerals, I always start in my forehead because if I get my brush too damp, when I was still learning, a lot of times my brush would be too wet when I started. Now I kind of have it fine-tuned more. But when you're first starting out, I recommend starting your foundation in your forehead because if you mess up, that is the easiest place to blend it out. So we're gonna start and always swipe and keep it moving because if you, hang on, let me get this layer done before I tell the next part. So I am just buffing this in and keeping it moving. And then, so the reason it's important to keep it moving is because if I just picked up, and my brush is dry now, so I'll demonstrate. If I just picked up a bunch of minerals and went to put it on my cheek, if I went like this and then started blending, what do you think is gonna happen? A bunch of product is gonna build up in that one spot, and then you gotta work really hard to blend it out. When if you would just blend it in the first place, you wouldn't have as much problems. What I used to do was, and what I think we all have done, is just dab in the spots and then you go back and blend. That does not work here. You gotta retrain your brain. Ningxia time! So good. Anyways, so now that I've done my forehead, I'm going to move on and putting the same amount of minerals in the cap as I showed you before and wetting my brush probably 2 sprays because it's already damp from the first layer we did. Picking up those minerals, and then I'm going into my cheek area. So you saw when I first started, I just came in swirling because you don't want to let it sit. Because if you sit and let it sit on your skin, like that blobbing thing I was showing you, then you get that product buildup and you don't want that. So thin layers, a little bit at a time, will build your coverage way faster than if you would just, I just realized I was shaking the table, sorry. Where was I at? Oh, this is bad. My memory's going, y'all. What was I saying? Blob. There's something about blob. Oh, I remembered. Okay. So if you were to try and just put a whole bunch of minerals on your brush at once because you think more is better and more is faster, you would be wrong. The fastest way to build the coverage, also the best way to get a more flawless finish, is to do it in sections and in layers. So I'm doing a little bit at a time because my forehead, unless I've got some kind of breakout going on, doesn't require the same coverage as like this area right here. So there's no point in putting more makeup where I don't need it. That's just wasteful. So each time I'm spraying my brush twice, I'm picking up my minerals, and that combo works for me. Some people may think that is too damp for them. Some people may think it is too dry. So play around with it. Some days use more misting spray, some days use less. Find your happy medium. No one has the perfect formula. You have to find what works for your skin, okay? This video, it's just a guideline. You have to go and test it out. I'm going to set you up as best I know how for success, but ultimately it boils down to you sitting down or standing up in your bathroom with your savvy and going, okay, I tried it her way and this part was good and this part didn't work, so we need to tweak that a little bit, because that's all I've done to get where I am right now with my mineral knowledge. So that's what you got to do too. Once I get most of that done, I'm going to go back and do some more here, but with whatever's left on my brush, I take down my neck because I don't want to put a layer of foundation on my neck, but I also want to make sure it all blends. So make sure you get right here. Right here is so important. No one wants to see a line around your jawbone. Nobody. If they do, they're probably taking a picture of you and putting you on People of Walmart, so don't do it. Okay, so this part's pretty good. This part needs some work. This is where I always have more trouble. So what I'm gonna do is spray my sponge one time, and then I'm going to pick up some of my minerals like so, okay? And then I'm going to just place it where I need extra coverage. Oh, that wasn't enough minerals, too liquid, hang on. So pretty much what I just told you not to do about the blobbing is what I'm doing. And the reason is, after, I just dropped some of that in my lap. After you have got a basic layer of foundation on, this is kind of risky, okay? You got to really, really, really blend after this. But for me, this is what covers my breakouts the best. I do sometimes, depending on how severe I'm breaking out, which praise the Lord for Young Living's acne cream, because I haven't broken out hardly at all except around, you know, certain times of the month since I got that stuff in June, and this is November. So I am so grateful for that. My skin has never looked better. But I still have some work to do. I've got years and years of acne scars to heal up, so I'm working on that, and I do still have some breakouts, but not near as severe as I used to. So this is what I'm doing. Now, when they're less severe, I can do this step without spraying the sponge. I can just apply another layer dry and let it bake one more time, and that's enough. But for those of you that have really bad like cystic acne and stuff like that, this is what I would recommend for you. So I'm seeing I got a little bit of dark circle right there, so I want to go in and touch that up a little bit. It's not bad in my mirror here at home, but you know, you're here to watch how to put foundation on, so I'm going to give you the full coverage look. Now, if I was just going to work, that would be enough for me. I wouldn't have added more, but like I said, you're here to learn everything I can teach you, so I'm going to teach it to you. So I would do another layer and let this bake. Let all those spots dry. So when this is going on, I would usually do my eyebrows, because when I bake the first layer on is actually when I do my eyeshadow and the first layer of mascara. But for this video's purpose, I just wanted to cover foundation. So I would bake. My steps are wash and prime, bake if necessary, eyes, whether that is eyeshadow or just mascara or both. And then I would do my layer of foundation. And then if I need to go back in and cover up some trouble spots, I will do that with either the damp sponge or the dry sponge, depending on the severity of what I got going on. And then while this is doing its thing, I would do my eyebrows. Now, if I don't have to go in and touch up spots afterwards, like most people probably don't have to do that, I would just go straight into my bronzers and blushes and finishing powders. And then last but not least would be my lipstick. So these are pretty dry now. So I'm going to go back in with that same sponge, which has also had a little bit of time to dry. And I'm just going to gently blend these spots out. Also, if you find that you did the blob thing by accident, because I told you not to, but if you did it anyways, then how you fix that is you take a little bit of misting spray on your brush, like maybe one pump of it, and just gently blend it with no more foundation on it, and it'll soften that up. And then you may need to go back in, depending on, if you get your brush too wet, it'll take the foundation off, so you could go back in with a little bit more minerals. But if you go in with a damp brush to fix it, don't try and cake more on there, but fix it with the misting spray in your brush, which has a little bit of product on it. Fix it first, and then go back in and add coverage once you fix the blotchy spot. That is what I had to do until I learned my powder misting spray ratio. So still blending, 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 blending for days, blending for life. And I honestly, since using the acne cream, have not had to do this heavy coverage. And so I'm saving so much makeup. But I just thought I would share this part with you guys, because I know I needed this when I first started wearing the makeup. I needed to know how to cover better than what I did originally. But we all learn. It just takes time. Okay, so at this point, my foundation step is done. This part that is still kind of heavy right there, once I get my blush and bronzer and finishing powder on, all blends together. But this is my foundation, like that. I would be happy walking out with this. So some things I feel are worth mentioning that have been questions people have asked me is, my foundation looks too powdery, or my foundation is too yellow or too pink, which we've kind of covered a little bit of that, but I want to recap a little bit of that for you. So if it's looking too powdery, what you're probably missing is using the right amount of misting spray. Let me just demo. So you pick up your minerals, and a lot of people, when they come to me asking foundation tips, a lot of times they're pouring like 4 times the amount of minerals. So first of all, cut back on how much you're tapping into your lid, would be my number 1 thing. And 2, if when you go to pick up your minerals, powder swirls everywhere, you do not have enough misting spray on your brush. So let that be a tidbit. So what I mean by that is, you spray your brush, and remember, mine's damp, so if yours is dry, you'll need more to start with. But I'm mixing this, there's no powder coming up. So if it's too powdery, you're probably not using enough misting spray. So I'm not gonna waste this makeup. So if it looks too yellow, add a little bit of a cool foundation to it. Also, if your warm 2 is slightly dark and slightly yellow, add a cool 1 to it, so that will make your foundation a little bit lighter and take those take some of that yellow undertone out to give you a more natural foundation. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this video helped you out. And if you have any questions, please drop me a comment below. And if you have anything else you would like me to film that maybe I haven't already covered, please let me know.